After having a little fun with an unidentified guy, my unfaithful wife became pregnant. I hadn't spoken to my ex-wife for more than 3 years. Last week, she contacted me and requested a conversation. Our final phone talk together lasted an hour, and that was the end of this terrible, miserable relationship. This is my narrative. I've been reading this thread religiously since I discovered it a few weeks ago. Reading the outpouring of so many shattered hearts has made me depressed. I regret to inform you that realizing I'm not alone in my circumstances has also been reassuring. I haven't blogged previously because, after experiencing such a disastrous marriage, what consolation or guidance can I give? However, after speaking with my ex-partner last week, I realized that nearly every one of the check boxes in our stories, which are numerous, is checked off. I felt obligated to share because of it. In teen, we first met. She was 27 and I was 22. I was in my final year of military service, and she was in her last year of nursing school. For extra money, we were both working as delivery drivers at a nearby pizza restaurant. After one night of an incredible party, we bonded and became more than just friends. Actually, it was me that chased her, but I was drawn to her and more than willing to return the favor. I asked her to a lovely supper once my service in the military finished. By then, I was fully smitten with her. It was a wonderful first year of marriage. Her family and I got along well, and my family adored her. Nearly everything was done in tandem with us. Then, in the second year, things began to shift. In order to earn a degree in civil engineering, I was working a full-time job and attending night classes. Nothing changed the reality that we spent a lot less time together, no matter how hard I tried to make it special and romantic. I stopped going to school because I could feel her becoming less interested in me and drifting away. I told myself I could always go back later and decided that my marriage was more essential. It didn't get much better. I had discovered something about her. She is similar to a child who grows bored with her toys easily. She switches to a new toy because she becomes tired of it. I made an effort to keep her interested and engaged by giving her presents, taking her on trips, and doing various romantic activities. It resembled rescuing a sinking ship. She didn't provide much support or encouragement. Trying to salvage a relationship on your own is really draining. Then the act of cheating started. You guys are all familiar with this. She marked all the boxes, she completely withdrew from intimacy, she was more guarded about her phone and laptop, and she left the house more frequently. She stopped showing any affection, and even my embraces and kisses were met with icy resistance. I've read about this a lot in previous entries on this site. It's as if those who cheat wish to avoid cheating on their AP with their partner. Knowing what was happening, I was determined to find her. She did a good job of hiding the fact that we lived in an at-fault state. Not that I could prove it. She must have sensed that I was disengaging from the marriage. My attempts to show her affection or even just to chat to her ended altogether. She then sobbedly admitted to having an improper connection with a coworker. It was never physical, she swore. She apologized and made a lot of promises. I guess I was given a heaping helping of trickle truth along with a side order of shifting the responsibility, even though I had never heard the term before coming here. Her desire was to work on us. She requested that we get counseling. At least, that was my choice to believe her. My mind and my heart were not speaking the same language. We spent a couple weeks at MC. She seems uneasy about that because the counselor questioned the EA in great detail. She probably sensed there was more to it, just as I did. We were making progress, but she left after 4 sessions. It was almost as if my former spouse had returned. I decided to set aside all of my unsubstantiated suspicions since I was so happy. This continued for around half a year before the cycle started anew. She checked every box just like the last time. I asked her outright about it. Twice, she dismissed it as stress or immaturity on my part, which is one of her favorite things to say to me about our age difference during the entire relationship. She lost all interest in it and in me, and our intimacy ended. Then it took place. She was home early when I got home. She was sobbing while sitting on our bed. I sat down next to her and pleaded with her to speak with me. She disclosed her pregnancy to me. I was ecstatic for a split second. Then something clicked in my thoughts. All of a sudden, I realized how long it had been since our last intimate moment. It was evident on her face. She said she was 8 weeks along when I asked. It had been more than 4 months since our previous personal encounter. I rose and exited the space. She took off after me. When I go back and compare the subsequent chat to the testimonies of individuals on this particular subforum, I'm always shocked at how similar the statements made by WS are. It was only that one time, it didn't mean anything, and I only ever loved you. That last untruth hurts the most out of all the lies they say. I informed her that I was heading out of the house and would return in an hour. I would then pay attention to what she said. I was trembling violently, I was angry, and to be honest, if I had stayed, it probably would not have ended well for either of us. I drove to a deserted parking lot and sobbed uncontrollably. I believe I mean it literally because throughout that hour, something inside of me broke. My heart stopped beating and became ice, and it remains that way now. Upon returning home, I was heartless and icy. I really had become a greystone, so I didn't need to act like one. We could get past this, she assured. Before I realized it, she noticed how thrilled I was when she initially informed me. She made a comment about our desire to begin a family. She made fun of the baby's innocence and said that he or she would require a father. I sat there staring at her in total, lifeless stillness for about 20 minutes. When she finally turned to face me, she pleaded with me to say anything. I informed her that although she is pleading with me for a reunion, almost all of her statements are false. I told her she had to tell me the truth first if she wanted me to even consider it. After then, I was told a different version of the tale, but it was still the same AP from the previous year. Everything was always just physical. She loved me, and she never loved him. Other than a physical relationship, he is not interested in having any kind of relationship with her. She doesn't want to end the pregnancy, but he is forcing her to. She desired a family, and she desired it to be mine. I told her that we were divorcing. It's been 1.5 years since it ended. However, I had only recently been aware of it. I asked her to please leave the house and pack whatever she would need for the next 3 days. I informed her that we will get together in 3 days to talk about the next steps. She persisted in wanting to speak with me and would not go. Normally, her weeping would have made me lose heart, but when I looked at her that evening, I felt nothing, my love had died. I entered the visitor bedroom and shut the door. I spoke with a few lawyers the following day and decided to hire one of them. The child's paternity was sufficient evidence to support an at-fault divorce. We talked about uncontested mediation, and I didn't want to wait that long. She really made an attempt to make a move on me when I came home. I felt both disgusted and shocked. I assured her it wouldn't occur once more. We decided on a divorce outline. Our house was our greatest asset, and her college loans accounted for most of our debt. So that she could sell the house, I gave up my ownership interest in it. I wanted her to have that money, but she was going to keep the baby. All I wanted was to be free to leave. Ultimately, everything I saved was my Jeep, my clothes-filled military sea bag, a few tools, guns, and military mementos, most of which were belonging to me before we were married. To me, everything in that house that she had touched seemed polluted. All I wanted out of this marriage was to put it behind me. 13 months later, the divorce was finalized. During the mediation, I saw her twice. We didn't talk much. At the time, she was extremely pregnant. Though I expected it would be difficult to see, I had no sympathy for her. Nothing, not even hate or love. I had never seen her before. I relocated to Florida and started working as a government servant for little pay and little overtime. My life is now quite simple. I purchased and made renovations to a tiny Gulf Coast home. I got a boat and spend nearly every weekend fishing. I've dated very little and have very few pals. Nowadays, I struggle with trust, and I find it difficult to socialize with other people. I find that when women approach me, especially those I find attractive, I become skeptical. I am now 27 years old. Despite my physical attractiveness and the fact that some girls find me appealing, I don't think I'm capable of having an intimate relationship or trusting someone to that extent. At least not for a long while. In practically every aspect, I have changed from the man I used to be. I am currently reserving all of my love for Stormy, my happy black Labrador retriever, who goes practically everywhere with me. Not that I'm overly joyful. I still get sad when I'm reminded of my ex and all that went down. I still have a deep and overwhelming sense of loss on occasion. I can't help how I feel, even though I know I haven't lost anything because I truly didn't have anything. The best thing about my job is that I get to spend much of my time outside, working alone, and I can frequently bring my dog along. Even if being divorced hasn't brought me happiness, at least it has brought me peace. I'll accept it. The past that I believe to have been buried 2 years ago protruded from the tomb last week. She gave my mobile a call. She must have found my contact information somehow. It couldn't have been too difficult. It wasn't like I was concealing. We had a conversation for an hour. At first, it was friendly and seemed like she was simply checking in to see how I was doing. However, the call's covert objective was to gauge my interest in a potential reunion. 2 years ago, she gave birth to a healthy baby girl. The timing never called into question paternity. The AP hasn't spent much time with his daughter and wasn't there when she was born. Being a single mother is difficult, and even if the AP was helping her, it seems like she had to take him to court about it. She was depressed and lonely. I told her that wasn't my concern, but I was sorry to hear she wasn't happy. I told her that even now, my heart was still broken because she had broken it. I expressed to her that I didn't love her, that I couldn't love anyone, and that I didn't want anything to do with her. She made all the decisions for her, for me, and for her daughter, I told her. I had no option but to move away from her when she left me. I told her to stop getting in touch with me. The last commonality across all the stories on this topic is that 3 people's lives were harmed by the selfish decision of a self-centered individual, one of whom had not even been born yet. If there's one thing that I wish I could explain to cheaters before they make the self-centered decision, it is that they are causing harm to not only themselves but also, potentially, to those around them. But it's likely they won't care if they are already that self-centered to cheat.